Welcome to the Banner of Truth magazine podcast, where each week we bring you selected content from the magazine for your encouragement and edification. This podcast episode will go out on the first Monday of April. Looking back over the month of March, two events stand out. The first was the death in early March of Dr. Kermit Gosnell. Now, some listeners will remember that Gosnell was the Pennsylvania so-called doctor who was convicted in 2013 for a range of offenses, including the first-degree murder of 3 babies who were delivered alive. His case brought into the spotlight the utter inconsistency of an abortion law which enables doctors to kill babies moments before delivery, and yet which deems their actions even seconds after delivery to be crime. The case shocked the nation, indeed the nations, and exposed the hypocritical nature of the law. Sadly, also in March, on the 18th of March, the British Parliament in Westminster voted to allow women in England and Wales to kill their unborn babies at any stage of pregnancy without sanction. Reporting on this, the Christian Institute, based in Newcastle, said the following: during a debate on the Crime and Policing Bill, notice how these amendments are always smuggled into bills about other things, peers in the House of Lords voted by 185 votes to 148 to reject Baroness Monckton's amendment to remove Antonia Antonianazzi MP's controversial Clause 208, which decriminalizes abortion up to birth for the mother. They also voted to reject an amendment by Baroness Stroud, that's Philippa Stroud, to reinstate in-person consultations with a doctor in order to receive abortion pills by 191 votes to 119. A return to such appointments, which were removed during COVID lockdown, would have better protected against women taking the pills after the 10-week limit, which they are designed for. Baroness Monckton made a speech in the House of Lords which was clear. Clause 208 would allow mothers to self-administer the abortion of their unborn child for any reason, at any stage of pregnancy, right up to full term. This is not just its consequential effect, it is its intended effect. Now, the point of sharing these things is not to stir up emotion for the sake of stirring up emotion. It is rather to point to the sad realities through which we are living, and to stir our hearts to think and pray about how we may respond as God's people. Wherever we may be in the world, whether in the UK or the USA or the Philippines or elsewhere, these laws are being pushed through in various ways across the nations. We are very far from being a world that honors God's gift of human life. At the time that Gosnell was convicted and sent to prison, we carried an article in the magazine entitled "Abortion, Kermit Gosnell and the Slide to Infanticide" by Reverend Peter Barnes of Revesby Presbyterian Church, Sydney, Australia. In May 2013, Dr. Kermit Gosnell from Pennsylvania was found guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder of 3 children intended for abortion but born alive and then murdered, and 1 count of involuntary manslaughter for failing to properly look after a woman who had gone through an abortion. Even some hardened pro-abortion people admitted that the whole business was grisly in the extreme. Apparently, one of the aborted children was so big that Gosnell quipped that he could walk me to the bus stop. Photos were shown to the jury which depicted babies with wounds in the back of their necks. In effect, they had been beheaded, which is a major news item if performed by a jihadist, but not if performed by an abortionist. In addition, the severed feet of aborted babies were kept in jars in the clinic. In 2 decades, Gosnell's clinic had performed something like 40,000 abortions and made the doctor quite a rich man. The media's silence. The first thing to note about this appalling business is that the mainstream media in the USA by and large ignored the Gosnell trial until it was forced to cover it. On other issues, we have come to expect media hysteria, but in this case, there was a silence that was more yellow than golden. Somewhat sheepishly, the New York Times admitted 4 weeks into the trial, on the 15th of April 2013, that, after an online furore that the case was being ignored by the national news media because of troubling accounts of late-term abortions, reporters from major newspapers and television networks descended on the Court of Common Pleas. At the time of writing, Hazel Hawke has just died, and is being lauded, almost canonized, in the mainstream Australian media, partly for having had an illegal abortion so that her future husband could pursue his studies. It is not a conspiracy as such, but an overwhelming expectation that people who work in the media will favor practices such as abortion and homosexuality. The media routinely shows pictures of people who have been hacked by swords or blown apart by bombs. But in 2005, when Evangelicals for Life made inquiries about paying for an advertisement in one of the major newspapers, both of the ones which we contacted put obstacles in our path. Yet we only planned to show the well-known picture of young Samuel Armas being operated on in the womb by a surgeon who was saving his life, not destroying it. Squeamishness is rather selective, it seems. The state of Western society. The Gosnell case reveals the state of much of Western society. It is lost without a compass. Cigarette packets warn that smoking can harm unborn babies. No doubt it can, but abortion does more. Planned Parenthood even has an advertisement, "Your baby will thank you." This can only mystify anyone who retains any capacity to think. Hazel Hawke defended her abortion by asserting that it was the only rational thing to do. There is nothing rational about Planned Parenthood's slogan. In 2012, 2 Victorian doctors, that is, in the state of Victoria, advocated what they called after-birth abortion. Planned Parenthood representative Elisa Lapolt-Snow told the Florida legislature that if a child was aborted but survived the abortion, the decision as to what to do with the child should be left up to the woman, her family, and physician. We have been maneuvered about by slogans to the point where critical standards have almost collapsed around us. The implications. Ultimately, Gosnell's crime, in the eyes of the state, was that he was unsuccessful in killing the children in the womb, so he resorted to doing it outside the womb. If he had succeeded in the first place, he would never have been charged. Peter Singer has long argued in favor of infanticide because the distinction between the child in the womb and the child outside is not enough to warrant the law's protection. His logic is impeccable. His ethics are frightening. Speaking generally, we no longer see life as guarded by the commandment, "You shall not murder." It is now determined by the desire of someone else. That is what pro-choice means. It is not liberty, it is tyranny. The Victorian and Tasmanian governments have taken away the right to object to abortion. The state is now taking God's place as the Lord of the conscience. There is no argument in favor of abortion which is not also an argument in favor of infanticide. Back in the 6th century BC, God told Jeremiah why he used Babylon to destroy Jerusalem. One of the many reasons is particularly pertinent to this issue. "And they have built the high places of Topheth, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I did not command, nor did it come into my mind. Therefore, behold, The days are coming, declares the Lord, when it will no more be called Topheth, or the valley of the son of Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. For they will bury in Topheth, because there is no room elsewhere. Jeremiah 7:31 and 32. Hopefully, there are those with ears to hear before it is too late. The recent decision of the British Parliament in Westminster to allow abortion up to birth should deeply grieve the heart of every one of God's children. The call to us now is to lament what has happened, but also to take action. Francis Schaeffer once said that in front of every abortion clinic should be placed the words, "Open by permission of the Church." But lamentation should not lead to inaction or apathy or an abandonment to what is going on. Let us consider the words of Proverbs 24:11 and 12. Rescue those who are being taken away to death. Hold back those who are stumbling to the slaughter. If you say, "Behold, we did not know this," does not he who weighs the heart perceive it? Does not he who keeps watch over your soul know it? And will he not repay man according to his work? What, fellow believer, does this news and this scripture mean for you? Thank you for listening to the Banner of Truth magazine podcast. To subscribe to the magazine in print or digital formats, or both, see the show notes or visit banneroftruth.org.